Kanye West, Demi Lovato, Chris Brown, Sinead O'Connor, Mariah Carey, Nina Simone, DMX, Selena Gomez, BB Rexa, Carrie Fisher, Brian Wilson, Kurt Cobain, Ernest Hemingway, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. What do all of these artists have in common, sleepyheads? I'll give you 2 seconds to guess, and it's not their fame. They all have or had bipolar disorder. While many limit their perspective of bipolar disorder to a scientific perspective, I'm going to give you the S.A.P. And no, I'm not talking about simplified employee pension. I am coining a general reference we can all use when referencing spiritual, energetic perspectives on life. You know, the real cure for everything. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I'm your host, H. Leigh. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Help me grow this channel, help me reach that 1 million subscribers, and help me proliferate my higher-minded content. So in this episode, I'm going to share my theory, my sleepy alien perspective on what bipolar disorder really is and why artists are so susceptible to this disorder. To me, it occurs in an epidemic status, and we all blame it on fame, but trust me, there's so much more to it. For this episode series, or at least for the first 3 episodes of this particular Ye's Not Crazy series, I am not doing my usual on the camera mode. There's just too much information I need to communicate, and my objective is to communicate clearly. So I would love to hear any thoughts, comments, questions, and possible concerns for my sanity, so please do leave a comment or 2. But let's dive in now. So the National Institute of Health reports that 4.4% of adults experience bipolar disorder at some point in their lives. In 2017, the Institute also reported that bipolar disorder could reduce a person's lifespan by 9.2 years. Think about that. That's 9.2 years. That's fucking crazy. That's a lot. That's a huge chunk of someone's learning capacity, of someone's wellness. Like, it's taking that much of their life force, right? So 15 to 17% of those with bipolar disorder commit self-death. 15 to 17%. 60% of those with bipolar disorder develop substance abuse disorders. Common co-occurring health disorders are migraines, asthma, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, thyroid disease, and arthritis. A 2017 study estimated that 792 million people have mental health disorders. While in many cases individuals may be a harm to themselves and others, you know, that does cause Western medical intervention to be more than necessary, but here's another perspective. What if nothing is wrong with Kanye and Selena and all of those other artists? What if most of those 792 million people all had the same single issue? What if nothing is wrong with you? What if that issue was an inability to alchemize energy? And it's not even an issue. It's a skill. What if you hadn't grown a skill to where you can alchemize energy? So let's think about that. In detail, I want you to compile all of your daily human interactions that you typically have. Then add on your tasks, your fears, your hopes, your elements, your stressors, relationships, and needs. And all of that will give you a categorical perspective of all the energy you alchemize each day. Now let me just kill something else. When I say alchemy, I'm not talking about witchcraft. Let's remember that we are made up of stars, we are cosmic beings, and we naturally, unintentionally, on a daily basis, are alchemizing energy. And alchemizing energy is a natural process of attracting, absorbing, receiving, and releasing energy from all of those transactions that we have on a daily basis. So now consider the fact that human life became more complex than nature intended. We were meant to be and exist, but society, currency, other beings in this universe, sociological differences, and limited westernized perspectives increased our alchemy load, aka your spiritual workload, aka your real job that your 9 to 5 is meant to distract you from. But that's a whole nother episode. So essentially, energetically, we went from basics to extremes, And as we advance technology in our society, it's only going to get more extreme. And those energetic transactions are only going to increase. And it is a necessity to have a perspective, an intentional perspective, of all the energy that you have to alchemize each day. So what expanded with society was our auric fields. So remember, your true form is not your body, your vessel. It is that light mass of energy that is your life force, that connects you to everything in this universe. So our consciousness expanded by need, the need to take in more energy, to process more energy, so that we can complete more energetic transactions in a single day. Because we still operate with no true blueprint for life, energetic transactions get messy and become hazardous to our auric fields. This is when we experience disruption, conflict, trauma, anxiety, toxins, and malfunctions. These are all natural results of energetic transactions. And when we become more aware of those energetic transactions, we have more control over those disruptions, conflicts, traumas, and our anxieties and toxins, right? But on top of that, something else is happening in conjunction. That limited perspective of life that we're conditioned to believe limits our ability to alchemize. And this leads to energetic blockages because we aren't processing the energy from all of those transactions on a daily basis, right? So energetic blockages in your true light body, that mass of energy, your life force that you really are, it will manifest in the human vessel as mental and physical health disorders, often deemed incurable. And why are they incurable? Because they have a limited perspective based on valid, and helpful logic, but limited logic, right? And like I've said in previous episodes, for the human race to truly evolve, we need the science and the spiritual. For people to heal, we need the science and the spiritual. But let's talk about Yay. So Cootie Simmons and Chike Oza's Genius documentary ended with the sobering reality of an artist struggling to manage his mental health. Now, I've been a fan of Kanye since my youth. His career has inspired me and helped me raise my vibration when it's gotten real low. And of course, I'm for the old Kanye. I can't say much about the new. He barely likes to show his face, right? But Genius depicts the artist come up so flawlessly, and that's why that documentary is so beautiful. I mean, on top of helping people understand Kanye, and how he became to be the way he is now, it also shows that creative initiation process that an artist has to go through. How you almost stretch yourself then and you put yourself on this edge. You take yourself to that edge energetically where you're like, I'm either going to pass out when I complete this or I'm just going to make it and cry, right? You're trying to reach that point. So we saw how Kanye had to fight to be recognized, to be taken seriously, to be respected, all the while creating soulful art. Cudi narrates how during the making of College Dropout, Kanye was stretched thin, struggling for resources, barely sleeping but not slowing up one bit. This man was completely determined. Finally, those who misunderstood Kanye were beginning to understand why he stopped holding back, why he raises his voice, why he doesn't think before he speaks, why he struggles to find peace with society. Spiritually, energetically, while making College Dropout and going on to produce 3 more platinum albums in a time span, consider this, in 4 years. That's 4 platinum albums in a time span of 4 years. Now think about that. You got a man producing Mozart status art. And I know what you're saying, he's not a classical musician and he's no Mozart, but to many generations, he is a Mozart. To the music industry, to the production of music, he is a Mozart. He brought a new style, a new sound, a new flavor. And he wasn't rapping about all those same things that you hear rappers talking about. I mean, yes, eventually he did, and he does. But in the beginning, there was that humbleness to him, and you can tell his music was healing him as he was processing his life. And he was able to lend songs that encouraged and uplifted people, right? So while Kanye is making all these multi-platinum albums, he's essentially overworking his chakras while alchemizing basic daily society transactions and integrating new ones that came along with his rising fame, wealth, and notoriety. Unfortunately, Kanye didn't know about this spiritual perspective or the way his consciousness was expanding while he was alchemizing. Now let's get into the foundations of bipolar disorder. So the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders defines bipolar disorder as brain disorders that cause extreme malfunction in a person's mood, energy, and ability to function. Now there are 3 key words in that definition: energy, ability, and function, aka alchemy. Now what's another key noun in that definition? Disorder. What is the definition of disorder? A state of confusion. Consider that. Bipolar disorder is an energetic and mental state of confusion. Because what has essentially been confused and not processed and not released is energy. Energy. Now let's talk about creatives and bipolar disorder. For this spiritual analysis, I'm focusing on artists because beyond everyone being able and having the ability to co-create in this universe, artists do it with intention, and they shape their entire existence around their creative productions. This is why I believe artists are more likely to suffer from bipolar disorder than others in the population. So a 2007 study posted in the Indian Psychiatry Journal found an increased rate of schizophrenia, manic depressive disorder, which was the original name for bipolar disorder, personality disorder, and alcoholism in creative individuals. In 2016, the University of Westminster surveyed 2,200 musicians about their mental health. 69% reported to have experienced depression, 71% reported panic attacks and high levels of anxiety. Lastly, participants reported that industry demands, culture, and workflow fluctuations had an impact on their mental health. So now that I've established a focus of artists with bipolar disorder, I'm going to share my alternative and spiritual perspectives of bipolar disorder symptoms in relationship to artists or creatives, however you want to put it. So here's symptom 1: increased activity, energy, and agitation. So again, let's remember, I'm going to give you the S.A.P, the spiritual energetic perspective. So here is the S.A.P of symptom number 1. Increased activity, energy, and agitation. What could this mean for an artist? Being in a creative flow naturally increases one's decision making and states of action. Furthermore, creative projects require significant amounts of energy and action in order to be completed. Basically, what we've been talking about, which is more alchemy. You have to alchemize more. Your consciousness is expanding. So when artists commit to the project, they set energetic intentions to match the demands of their endeavors. And intentions, if you want to, think about it let's just say intentions are like spells, essentially. You are giving those direct commands to or you could think you're giving direct commands to a computer or your hardwiring system. And once you truly set and mean that intention, your mind, body, and spirit are going to work together to help you fulfill that intention, right? And it's a machine-like fashion of production. And all of them are going to help you increase activity and energy and producing possible states of agitation through the challenges of those energetic transactions that come with your newly found set intentions, right? So let's get into symptom number 2, decreased need for sleep. What's the S.A.P here? Creative intentions have been set. For an artist who shapes their lives around their creations, there's going to be an impulse to create and build that vision. The vessel and mind, based on the intentions of the artist and their desire to create, will reprioritize sleep. An artist can override this response to their intention, but if the artist is passionate, excited, or working on a deadline, or operating on a limited time in their schedule to create, they most likely will not override that decision, feeling the uplifting fuel that comes with states of production. So yeah, there is a decreased need for sleep that artists experience. Now let's get into symptom number 3, rushed or scattered thinking. Here's the S.A.P. When you're creating and fulfilling a vision, there's a lot of components to manage and track at once. And trust me, I know how this feels. It's like you have all these moving parts in your brain, but what's the other situation? You still gotta take care of your home. You still gotta go to work. You still gotta, have relationships with all the people in your lives. You still have to manage all that stuff. So trust me, your thinking will get scattered. It will feel rushed. You will have states of kind of just looking like you've zoned out, because that is the closest your brain can come to a reprieve from all of those different components that you're trying to manage in terms of your endeavors and your daily life, right? So your brain almost has to run on a higher speed to manage all of those task and energy transactions. Now, this can be difficult to alter that speed when an artist has to stop working to balance other areas of their lives or fulfill those daily societal transactions. The S.A.P is most artists don't take time, have time, or they choose unhealthy habits to decompress between shifting states of energy. So let's say an artist let's just use a case of Kanye. So Kanye gets off tour, but he has all of this, he's just been in performance mode. He's been in public engagement mode. He's been doing interviews. He's been coordinating with other artists, musicians, and production staff. He's had all of these components running in his mind, but now he's home and he's trying to play with his kids, but he can't tone down those rushed and scattered thoughts. So think about this. In your light mass body, you opened up all of these new channels of energy to fulfill those transactions that come along with your creative endeavors, right? What has to be done is that you have to naturally taper down that increase of energy that you were working from and that expanded consciousness state that you were working in. You can't just drop it down suddenly. It's like coming off of prescription medication. You have to taper yourself down energetically. You have to slowly calm your mind down to switch roles effectively in your life. So yeah, when Kanye gets off tour, he has to find a way to taper down his energy so that he can go into dad mode and not feel so out of it or scattered or just so drained, right? So again, this is an example, right? It's just an example. I'm not saying that really happens to Kanye. It probably does, but that's just an example. So this is why, others, will perceive the thoughts as rushed or scattered because they are not on that level of expansion that, Kanye has been on, where he's having to put all of his energy out in so many different directions at once, right? So to someone who hasn't been in that state, they're going to think, he's all over the place. Why is he talking like that? Why can't he slow down? Can he just relax? No, he's having trouble shutting down those channels of energy and lowering that expanded state of his consciousness. Now let's get into symptom number 4. Increased activity towards goals. Now, more than anything, an artist wants to spend time doing what they love and they want to be paid for it. As Kuti and Chike showed us, how the hunger to be seen, for hard work to be recognized, and to live well can create tunnel vision for artists. Some artists will give all of their life force just to see the birth of their dreams. Naturally, an artist will prioritize their creative goals. Consider the fact that the unemployment rate for artists in America went from 3.7% in 2019 to 10.3% in 2020. So of course, artists prioritize goals. They're attached to their livelihood. And that is just something basic to keep in mind. And when you live in America, when you live in the country where luxury and wealth are thrown in your face every day, and the cost of living goes up and up, of course, you're going to have increased activity towards goals. Because those goals, your skills, those natural God-given skills are what's going to pull you out of that state, right? Symptom number 5, increase in purposeless activity. So this one is something I've experienced as well. So if an artist is overwhelmed by the task they need to complete, a procrastination pattern may ensue. And I know many people are like, that doesn't make any sense. But an artist may distract themselves from their creative priorities by doing purposeless tasks. And why? An artist may do this because they have fear blocks associated with failure, vulnerability, or judgment, or whatever creative challenge they're taking on is challenging them, and they're avoiding that challenge of that task, right? So there could be an increase in purposeless activity, right? So truly, this is a natural phase in the creative process, I believe, all artists go through when they take on new projects that truly do challenge their skill set and experience level. It's intimidating. And, half of the game for an artist is maintaining your confidence to take on those creative challenges, to expand your creative horizons, and to expand the possibilities of your artistry. So let's get into symptom number 6, depressed mood. Firstly, I believe depression is a natural phase of healing cycles as we go through events and changes in our lives. Depression can be problematic when people don't flow through that depressive state and get stuck there, and energy stagnates in the vessel, and that produces physical ailments and other mental health ailments that then make it even harder for that person to alchemize the energy of their experiences, of their traumas, of their conflicts, or whatever has triggered their state of depression. So westernized beliefs do limit the scope and purpose depression plays in our dimension, in our lives, and in this universe. Because depression, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but it is a blessing. It really does. Being able to alchemize and uplift yourself from a depressed state is how the soul empowers itself after trauma, changes, and endings and loss. Untreated symptoms of depression can, of course, heighten states of imbalance and negative behaviors. This is why I believe artists must maintain disciplined life routines and take scheduled periods of rest. And that can be really hard to do if you're like me and you're a workaholic, and your body will literally shut itself down for you if you don't do it, right? So secondly, in order to create from the soul, artists must tap into various emotions and personal traumas. This can trigger anxiety states and depressive states because you're revisiting heavy emotions that do pull you back in a past reality. You know, that's why people say stay out of the past, because it'll pull you back, right? So thirdly, when the high of the creative flow ends, when the work is done or the artist takes a moment to rest, this may as well be like coming off of a 3-day cocaine binge. I mean, maybe they did both, who knows? Regardless, there's a resting state of action that a healthy artistry journey requires. The resting state can be unbearable for some artists who are struggling to taper down the high capacity alchemy state and shift between roles in their lives. Furthermore, I believe artists experience creative postpartum. And I have not coined this term, someone else did, but it is real. So while you may not be waking up at 3 a.m. to check on a baby, you've given birth. That state of creation, that excitement, the attachment to the creative process, it disappears. It's gone. That high is gone. Also, a person might be going through the outcome of the project, the feedback, the rejection, delayed progress, financial constraints. All of those may trigger anxiety and depression. I mean, just recently, Chloe Bailey spoke about getting negative feedback from someone who rejected her music. Someone respected in the industry literally rejected her music style. And she spoke about how that triggered a depressive state for her, as I think it would many, right? So that, sleepyheads, I mean, this is just the crux of what we're about to get into. But those are the first 6 symptoms that I wanted to go over in terms of the spiritual energetic perspective of bipolar disorder. Now, in the next part of this episode, we're going to be getting into some other symptoms, and I'm going to tell you why a spiritually based perspective of bipolar disorder is warranted in 2022. Sleepyheads, I hope you have a good night, and don't let the society label bite.